Hey everyone, Matron here, bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary, this time Game 6 from Wednesday Night StarCraft, vVvGaming against KiwiClone Army, the team of Kawe Rice. He's coached up a bunch of mostly Terran players here, and they are taking on vVv. This is going to be Game 6, originally cast by Crota and I, but there were some problems with the recording and the compression of the file, so I'm recasting this one as a solo cast. And Binsky basically has forced this Game 6 here, spawning as the blue Terran. He took down a very strong Protoss player in vVv Time in the last game on Metalopolis, and now he will face vVv Hasu, the green Protoss spawning in the southwestern position of Shakuris Plateau. And Hasu placing down his first pylon here, very defensive position, sort of the same as his teammate Time. But Binsky very impressive in that first game against Time. Time had been doing so much damage to this KiwiClone Army team. We thought it was going to be basically an all-kill here of Time taking down most of the players on KiwiClone Army, but instead Binsky put a stop to that. He has forced this Game 6, but now he's got two more strong players to go through before he's able to take this for KiwiClone Army. So we'll see whether he's up to the challenge. Again, in that first game with Time, pretty strong play. He brought out some early pressure with Marauders and Marines, and sort of that concussive shell timing that we see a lot of Terrans take advantage of against Protoss. So we see both players sending out their initial scout on this MLG Shakuris Plateau map. The only basic difference is the supply depot at the bottom of this ramp, and the two scouts will pass in the night. And we do have Hasu getting up as a simulator. At the moment, we have no assimilator down for Binsky, so might be going for a quick second barracks, or could be going for a more econ related play. Binsky pushing down here, and he is actually rallied, and he's going to go to the northern position, I guess, with that SCV. He did not see any buildings. Typically, the Protoss player will place some buildings down in this area, but Binsky not scouting deep enough into that southwestern starting location, so looks like Hasu will see the SCV on the low ground. Trying to hide that is Binsky, but Hasu did see that, and Binsky going to try to take down this probe before he sees that there are no gas. And I'm not sure that he's going to be able to. Pulling off a number of SCVs, getting a few shots on that probe, and the Marine does take it down, but Hasu at this point has got to know it's more of an econ-related play. And we do see the command center going down on the low ground, so Binsky coming in finally with this SCV. It spent a lot of time in that northern position wondering where the heck his opponent was. Now going to be coming down here, sees the second gas, sees that no probes are actually mining off that though. Not sure if that's on purpose or a mistake on Hasu's part. A lot of times we see players throw up a second gas and start mining off of it to try to trick their opponent into thinking they're going for a more tech-oriented play, and then instead they come out with a lot of gateway pressure, either 3 or 4 gate, and Binsky might have been unprepared for it. And still no gas being taken. We do have Hasu with a probe on the low ground, a Zealot chasing around this SCV, and the Sentry going to try to take down that SCV before he sees this Nexus on the low ground, but Binsky will see the Nexus, so both players basically know that their opponent is going for some sort of econ play, and Hasu not too far behind on this base. We do have the base of, or the command center, the second one, about to finish for Binsky here. So he will get his economy up and rolling with double mules shortly once this does become an orbital command. A bunker going down here for Binsky. He's going to want to try to hold this ramp while he gets some forces up. Right now just working off the one rack, so not a lot of forces out at the moment. Back in the base of Hasu, we see him working off one gateway, coming out with a lot of those early sentries. Going to give those an opportunity to gain energy. Later on in the mid and late game, those sentries are going to be all important. Once they do get up Guardian Shield, adding some armor to the already base armor of one of the Protoss units. Makes them very powerful against Marines and Marauders, and it looks like Binsky is going to be going for just that, adding a lot of barracks here and a tech lab, so we will be starting perhaps Marauder production and at least starting Stim. Stim now takes 170 game seconds, so Binsky can't really push out here at the moment, just still establishing his economy. If we check the income tab, it is 25 to 25. But again, the double mule is going to give Hasu a little bit of a disadvantage, and he also needs to do a transfer here over to his natural. He's got some inefficient mining at the moment, where he's only got these 4 probes out here. You really need to take some of your probes and make it about half and half, so that you don't have a lot of walking around with the probes trying to find a mineral patch. Working off of 3 gateways now and adding a forge, so we'll see whether he wants to use that forge for some early detection, maybe a cannon, or he might be going for some fast upgrades. Again, upgrades very good against the barrack style, which Binsky has been using. He used it in the last game against Time. So Hasu might have learned a little bit from watching that game. If he gets out some early armor upgrades combined with Guardian Shield and the base armor of those gateway units, can make gateway units very powerful against barracks units, else they generally kind of melt under the pressure and DPS of that stim of the Marines and Marauders. Binsky's still just working off 2 gas at the moment. He has gotten up a factory and now working on a starport, reactoring that factory to prepare it for that starport. He's going to come out with a lot of medevacs here and do some sort of timing push, perhaps centered around stim, finishing in about 60 seconds. We do have a robotics facility out for Hasu, so we'll see whether he goes first going to be going for that all-important observer so he can get into the base of his opponent, see what he's going for. Hasu are going to run into this missile turret actually, so Binsky, Spart placing that down. We see a lot of Protoss players lose control of their observer, and if you fly it past this missile turret, just a few shots can take it down. Then you have to spend important time creating another observer instead of creating those immortals or those colossi. And now we have a robotics bay going down, so Hasu will be going for the Colossus tech, adding another gateway, so adding production a little bit slower than his opponent. We do still have the 3 racks, and we have an engineering bay up for Binsky at the moment, so he can start in on those upgrades. The ground armor level 1 about to finish for the Protoss. A scan goes down, and that's going to see everything. It's going to see the forge starting with the upgrades. He's going to see the robotics bay, so he knows that he has to start his own upgrades from this engineering bay, and he also needs to come out with some Vikings as soon as he can here. It looks like he's going to be finishing up these medevacs. He does have a few medevacs and a decent sized force. It is 1750 to 775 at the moment, as Hasu spent a lot trying to get up his economy. 45 harvesters now, matching Binsky, but also teched up with some upgrades and also getting up to tier 3. So he's got these early investments in these sentries, a lot of energy on those. We check, he's got 5 sentries, but only 5 zealots besides that. He's got no stalkers at the moment, just now finally warping some in. So the stalkers not going to be able to take down these medevacs very quickly before they are focused down by these Marines. Stim has finished. He's not going to be able to wait for combat shield as he wants to push up here, but again, these sentries will be able to wall off that ramp. We do see a force field does go down, making this a very small choke. Going to be very difficult for Binsky to get up there quickly with that choke. Now it looks like he's going to be preparing some sort of drop, and he's actually going to be seeing the probe here. And I'm not sure if Hasu actually saw those medevacs pass by. He was preparing a probe to throw down a 3rd. It is 101 to 93, and now Binsky could be going for some sort of backdoor attack. Looks like he's going to go into the natural here, taking down a few probes, and we do have Hasu. Most of his forces are split, so coming in here, trying to throw up a Guardian Shield and a number of force fields, pressing in on 2 different points here, and we just see this Colossus trying to do damage to these few units on the ramp. It might get focused down, and it looks like it's barely alive with 2 HP. Back behind these assimilators, though, it is all good news for Binsky, who's able to take down the majority of those sentries and the zealots. Again, the zealots with the 1 armor did a decent job against those forces, but now Binsky going to be dropping once again, and we have a drop in the main at the same time. Binsky going to be trying to focus down a few pylons there and maybe even try to stop that blink from being researched. We have a warp in from Hasu, a number of stalkers, and it looks like Binsky not really focusing on anything in particular, getting a little bit of shield damage on both the Cybernetics Core and the Twilight Council, and pulling back. He did stop mining for the moment, so Hasu's economy a little bit hurt. He has not yet gotten up his 3rd. We do have Binsky completed his 3rd orbital command, so he's going to be triple muling at the moment. Another drop coming in for Binsky. He's going to be focusing down these remaining stalkers, and in small compositions, Terran versus Protoss, when you do have Marauders and Marines with Stim and Medevacs, they're so powerful against Stalkers and Zealots, being able to focus them down very quickly and also being able to kite them a little bit. So Binsky doing a nice job taking advantage of just kind of how this matchup works in TVP, applying little small pressure in a lot of places. You don't want to meet that big Protoss death ball in the middle of the map, especially without Vikings, but if you're able to take advantage of your mobility with these Medevacs, your healing as well, you can do quite a bit of damage and just keep them back on their heels. We do have Hasu's observer up here. We'll see this orbital command go into position, so he knows his 3rd is going to be a little bit late here, and he really needs to protect this 3rd somehow. He doesn't have map control. He's got no vision in the center. He's got no pylons all over the place to show him when medevacs come in, now placing a pylon here. So perhaps going to be applying a little bit of pressure to the third of Binsky. And this is something he really needs to do, as we see another drop coming into the main, trying to focus down some probes. He was able to take down one there. If we check the total probe loss, I think it's 11 workers Binsky's been able to take down, and it is 51 to 59. So Binsky does have the advantage. He's got those triple mules. You see 2,200 income mineral-wise per minute compared to the 1,300 of Hasu. So Hasu a little bit behind here. He really needs to get this third up and running. Binsky running very healthily off this third at the moment. It's got very good saturation, but again, Hasu does have this pylon. He could do a little bit of damage if he gets some stalkers or zealots in there. He's about to finish charge. He's already finished blink, so not powered on this cybernetics core, but that's okay. He can still warp in stalkers and sentries. And now we see Binsky sees that this third is up for Hasu, focusing down that probe and warping in a number of zealots. Over here, Binsky getting up maybe a little bit of a supply depot wall and pushing out towards the center. He's going to try to take down that third, and Hasu trying to get a position in the center here so we can get into that big army engagement. He's got a number of sentries, just 3, sort of high energy, but not as decent as he had in that first instance. And now moving into position here, he's got some late arriving units throwing down those force fields, and the zealots were able to take down the front units of Binsky, but Binsky now cutting back with these marauders and marines and trying to focus down the remaining colossus. The Vikings did go down under the forces of those stalkers, and now going in and focusing down all the colossi. So Hasu losing all of his tier 3 units there, all of the sentries as well, and now the medevac's doing a nice job and cutting back with these marauders. Binsky doing a nice job of macroing up as well. If we check the army tab, it is 2,300 to 1,100, so if he keeps the pressure on, he might be able to take out this third. Again, dropping mules, and he might be moving in a position to actually start a fourth, so he is ready to take the advantage here economically, and we do have some forces warping in here for Hasu, so he's going to try to do a little bit of harassment with these zealots. There are no units over here for Binsky at the moment. He's got 71 harvesters, so in the end we'll see how much damage he's able to do with these zealots. The zealots are 1-1, and with that 2 armor, these SCVs are only going to be doing 3 damage to the zealots, so you can take on a lot of SCVs here. It looks like he is down to 63 SCVs, 62, maybe he gets one more. So he was able to take down about 9 or 10 SCVs there, but Binsky is not going to be taking that lightly. He's now pushing into the third. He's going to quickly focus down this Nexus, and Hasu is nowhere to be found, arriving a little bit late. He's got these Colossi out of position, not going to be able to take on the units of Binsky, and Binsky trying to focus down the remaining probes and zealots here, but these medevacs doing so much healing. He's got a lot of medevacs here, 5 of them, and they have very full energy, a few of them. So he's going to be able to take on the mostly gateway units, unless he's got Colossi in here doing a lot of splash damage. The medevacs are going to be able to take on all comers with these marines and marauders. Now pushing in here, focusing down a few pylons, now having to pull off with these probes. The probes getting into the fight early though, as the stalkers got caught a little bit on the pylons. A scan goes down for Binsky, making sure that there are no DTs in the area. And now he's going to be coming up here, trying to focus down this one Colossus. Not really sure whether that was a smart move. He does get it down, but he does kind of leave these Marauders in a difficult position, surrounded by Stalkers on the high ground here. Again, these medevacs doing so much healing. These Marauders very hardy, quickly focusing down these Stalkers, and the Stalkers trying to blink back as they do get low. And it looks like Binsky taking down a few more units here, and now just pulling back with all of these medevacs. And Hasu was never able to take down these medevacs, trying to blink after him and get a little bit of damage, but you know, these medevacs are so good at healing, you have to take them down at some point in the encounter. If you don't have Phoenix up, or you don't have High Templar to get some feedbacks, you know, these medevacs just keep piling on, and you give Binsky a chance to add more and more Vikings to his fleet when he doesn't have to remake these medevacs. Now it looks like Hasu at 67 food compared to the 118. Might be trying some sort of all-in here. He's got his army. It's 2,050 compared to the 3,100 of Binsky. He's rallying his forces. He's got a few sentries. He's got these 2 Colossi. So he's going to try to go after the third here. It looks like he's using this forward pylon, which is a very smart play by him, to try to reinforce quickly here. But at this point, he's very low on harvesters, 28 to 52. But he might be able to take down this third if he goes up here. There's a lot of mules now pushing down here. Might be taking on the army instead. A little bit indecisive by Hasu here. He will be taking on the army, and it now looks like a lot of SCVs are being pulled off for Binsky as well, trying to take on the Marauders, which are stemmed in the south, the SCVs and the mules coming in from the north, adding a little bit of DPS, focusing Hasu into this corner, and all the Colossi do go down. The remaining Stalkers go down as well. He's got a few Zealots here, but army-wise, it is just 3,200 to 2,250, or 22.5, and Hasu has to give the GG. Binsky able to take out another Protoss from vVvGaming and force a Game 7 in Wednesday Night StarCraft. Wow, so vVv down to their last player. It's going to be vVvMurder. So it's going to be a TVT. And I really like Binsky's play, and not only this game, but the game before. He's just a strong, solid player. If we check the APM, 202 for a 22-minute game. That's pretty blazing fast. And not much spamming at the start, as I did check APM there as well. And we have 118 for Hasu, so Binsky just light years ahead of him. The entire game, his economy is better. His army was better. He was eventually able to get on, I think, better upgrades as well. Yeah, he had 3-0 upgrades. I think the Vikings had upgrades as well, attack upgrades. And eventually, I really like the fact that he was able to get that multi-pronged pressure. As I talked about before, in Protoss vs. Terran, if you have small groups of units, the Terran really has an advantage. So forcing the Protoss to split his units there, you can do a ton of damage. And Hasu on a number of those engagements pulled a lot of probes and lost a lot of probes. He also lost that third when Binsky was able to take it down, and Binsky was up on this fourth base, macroing like a boss, minerals very low the entire game, and took a very strong Game 6 here. We'll look forward to Game 7 in just a moment. Again, vVvMurder against KiwiClone Army Binsky. I'll cast that one with Crota. This one had to be a solo cast. Again, we had the recording and the compression got a little bit messed up on this Game 6, but hopefully you enjoyed it. I was able to add a little bit of post-production picture-in-picture and things like that, replays, so something we don't normally get to do with Wednesday Night StarCraft. I look forward to Game 7. See you there. Thanks for watching this one, and take care.